And go.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our audience and our Facebook members and our live guests. Today is the last of the series of the history of Muslims in America throughout the different stages. And we're ending in this one to talk about the art, the comics, and satire of the Nation Islam and its early transitional years. And one of the reasons why this topic hit me is really due to a dear friend of mine, Ajim Bilal. May Allah have mercy on his soul, forgive him for his sins, and bless him being the ranks amongst righteous servants. Ajim Bilal was a historian, community worker, educator, and there's this woman that he talked with, a European woman that's getting a PhD, if I recall right, on the art of the Nation of Islam. And I thought that it's important because I know that one thing in the transitional years under the leadership of Imam Mufti Muhammad, he used art as well to communicate with the community. So I was able to put together through the Muhammad Speaks, Bilali News, and other forms of the paper, uh, different comics, different messages that the nation used to communicate with the people. And I was able to gather it from 63 to 1983. Some of the artists that are featured is Brother Giro2X, Eugene Majid, Ramza, and there's a Brother Melvin X. And some of the other resources was the book, the teachings of W.D. Muhammad, Book 1, and many of the early centerfolds. So what we're going to get with is the satire that the nation did about racism and our societal ills during the early 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. These are some of the newspapers that came about with recognizing the times of the 60s. I think this is a 65, 63 newspaper. Talk about the Negro has no right, a white man is bound to respect. And then this is a lieutenant colonel, and he had a degree. And then we get some of the form of the same things, treatment that we see today. Rights of Americans, you don't understand you don't understand, boy, you're supposed to just suffer along. And that's some of the mentality that's some Americans have. And we see some of it manifest still to the day. This is a
Lost the
political.
share.
Okay. Let me end this. Pardon me. Give me a second. Then we lost the share.
All right.
I mean, we back.
We're back.
Okay. And so we see in this comic, he's talking about some Americans, African American political leaders. And this is the Adam Clayton Powell at that time, and then how they was looking at us and treating us in Africa, and then you see it's still about gold, and you still see it today from different type of minerals. These big corporations are having in Ghana, Gambia, Zimbabwe, different regions for the minerals. So and they talked about how at that time the lynchings, white rights to lynch, to bomb, to segregate, to whip, to kidnap, and exploit. And some of this mentality still prevails. So it is part of a sickness that we have allowed to haunt us throughout generations. And alhamdulillah, things are getting better, but this is some of the mindset that the nation was speaking to the public. The Negro may now have voting right, but we control the land, jobs, money, industry. We create industries, farms. We control the courts, and we see that in some of the things that the decisions that are being made today. You know, oh man, it's the Supreme Court, some of their decisions. You know, and people think that there's people in leadership think that the people on the ground can't see. You know, it's a different society now. They learn a lot faster, you know, and this was our Native American brothers suffering. You know, here is a cartoon about police brutality, you know, saying that somebody said that the white man was the devil, you know, and he said, I'll eat my hat if he is. And then at the end, you see what happened, you know, and American and what we did with the Native Americans, the Mexicans and others, you know. And this is you know a picture of things that chase us. And you see this woman with a cross on her. We see that with a lot of these people that are artists. You know, they wear the cross, but yet their life is totally different than what Christ would live. You know, uh, um, here's this painting from Brother Jiro on the right, the artist said, "I can't paint but what I see." You know, and so many people around the world, you know, see us as Americans and some of the things that we do, some of our policies that we do. You know, this is almost a similar statement that we hear today: "Keep America beautiful, keep American beautiful." You know, come on, man, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. You know. So we have one end of America that's dying out, that ugly end. You know, and we hear a lot of noise, but that ugly end is dying out. But the other side is growing and developing. You know, that side of diversity. You know, we see today many of us in the fall seasons and the diversity of the colors, the diversity of the trees. You know, the Quran reminds me also of what the Quran said that He make the earth golden. You know, that is the harvest time. And this is when that time. This is harvest time. You know, and these are some of the comic strips. Also about that police brutality. Here's talking about the government. You know, talking to our Eastern brothers. You know, it's telling them, yeah, you really thought this guy, little guy, it's just that he stood on the shoulders of the big Negro. You know, in other words, they're saying that a lot of people, America is great and big because of our contribution. You know, and but the world only see what they see on the outside, what they see on top. You know, here's another thing, some of that mentality. You know, ducks are out of season, but help yourself to the niggers. Pardon me. You know, this is a different time, but this is some of that mentality that we faced it and seen in many of the dark edges of the South and the Southwest and other parts of the country. You know, and here's this one, and we hear people taking people for the body parts. And here's a comic strip in the 60s, talk about I only admitting you because you're a good-hearted person. You know, and so you taking heart donors one. we we Americans are fortunate. It's not every nation that gets a chance to operate on its enemy. You know, well, we know in our lifetime now, there's another nation that's that had that chance to operate on the enemy, and there's many others. He just showed the callousness. You know, an animal is a greater concern for them than other human lives. You know, we see that in the love for the dogs and cats. And versus how they want to treat your fellow man, any person of color. You know? So these are some of the satires of the politics. You know, he got a parrot telling him he's a liar, he's a liar. The Indian told us they spoke with a forked tongue. You know, so we see these. The nation used art to be able to deliver a message in more of a softer way. You know, one of the things he said about justice for the black man, you know, and we're still crying for justice today. jobs, welfare, I can't go along with, but you're asking for the impossible. And that's for justice, for fair play. You know, and in some politics, and in some places, these are some of the same challenges that we have. You know, you got some bad politicians. And it could be fat, big, tall, short. Doesn't matter. Black, white. You know, it doesn't matter. It's their values and principles and their perception. You know, and here we need to be the last hire. We need not be the last hired, the first fired. Let's unite. You know, lay off indefinitely. You know, so the nation of Islam, because of some of the challenge, try to encourage the community to do for self, to think for self, be able to do for self, because many of those we was not getting no job. You know, it's a difference of time and difference of circumstances now. But some of the same concept for some of us, we only have the capability or the capacity to work for self. So we have to learn to create jobs, tap into the best of what God has given you, develop that talent, work with that talent, have faith in that talent, nurture it. You know, because as I said, you know, I know in my lifetime when I grew up, uh, it was factory jobs. You know, my father felt that, you know, boy, you ain't got a job unless you got a factory job. G's, Sikorsky, a whole bunch of factory jobs. But they died out. They moved out, and our town wasn't able to make that transition into another market. So it kind of died out. Um, so I say this is that there's many parts within America that, you know, we have contractions. You know, we even having the story with Joseph, the division that he had 7 lean years and 7 good years. You know, there's cycles in life, and God reminds us of those cycles in life. We have to prepare ourselves from this. You know, and then another comic that they talked about the social ills was in the '70s. They came out these black movies, man. You know, with these images, and they still come out, and you still see people trying to copy themselves as some actor or some personality or something that they seen in a movie. You know, and a lot of us still like with that glitter life, that that fast life versus a life to do for self. You know, that life that you could pass down a legacy, economic legacy, a business legacy, so educational legacy. These are some of the things that we have to learn to do. You know, that car is going to go out sooner or later. And this one here is you know, the guy's question. Yes, I'm fascinated by snakes. How did you know? You know, the people, you look at the look around them. You know, and so many times we befriend people that are not friends of ours just because they accept us. So that was that satire. And there was some satires about eating bad food. Here, this is one that's called the poor people's special: tomato sauce, beans, and ground birth control pills. Is what they were saying that they put in there. This is one of the cartoons of the videos of it. Here, you know, it's talking about the eating the bad food, you know, that pork, the effects of the pork and the drinking that it has on us as a people. It tried to address that. This is one of the artworks of Brother Eugene McGee. There's another one. This is a doctor that's saying, I don't know how to tell you this, but Mr. Hardin, but it appears that you've been poisoned. You know, and a lot of times when we get in our late 60s, 70s, 80s, the doctors telling us we should start eating pork and other things. But it's too late. And so we are a visual people. So the nation also did try to put out a visual effect to get people out of eating that hog, the effects that it has on eating that hog. The other another one of the satires that they did was on black leadership. Here, the fear of the white lash. You know, black unity, black power, so-called leaders. You know, running. You know, we hear some of that today with some of these editors, owners of the newspapers, being scared to hear some of that today with some of these to nominate or to endorse Pamela Harris. Being scared to, and here you had that picture once again. This big guy being a bully. Give us two, and many of us we're caught up not realizing what to do. Even with the religious leadership, it's influence of our religious leadership, believing into the government more than them believing into God. And the leadership of doing it as well. Then they had satire on the U.S. military. How they, the wrongs and the different changes and the problems that the African American had during all the different battles. We heard many of the stories about the Vietnam brothers coming home and the challenge that they faced. And this is that era at that time. Here, saying that they killed 5 Viet Congs and 4 of our own Negroes, and reporting how being happy about it. And you could hear some of these stories about in Vietnam, the different friendly fire killing. Here's another one talking about the missing person bureau. And it's the same old story. Black soldiers missing. Last seen reading orders, sending him to Vietnam. And then it's shown us, isn't it wonderful, brother? He did it so you and I might live. And that's our sacrifice. So these are some of the satires that the Nation of Islam had put out. And you can see at this time, this is under Nixon leadership. And so then what they also within it, they did the concept of do for self, the unity of men. Here you got your love your black brothers as yourself. Love your black brothers that which you love for yourself. What they used was a Bible verse as well as a Quranic verse, and comparing the unity for us to come together with our own diversity. Talked about Muhammad's program, do for self. And yes, they are big shoes to step in. And if it's nothing but that same concept to do for your family, we're taught in the Quran to save yourself and save your family. If we don't do nothing but develop a legacy for our family or our community, whatever it is greater. We talked about the other 2 other Muslim African American leaders. They both talked about self-dignity and to do for self. Imam Ezzeddin and the community that they developed and purchased land. Imam Wali Akram in Cleveland. So he tried to, Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam tried to encourage us and stimulate us to do for self, be able to produce for yourself, and to sell products. And we had that for a minute. When we in the 70s and the 80s, we lost it as a community, and we got to learn to start developing some of the same concepts so that we could pull our members of our community together to work and to employ and develop international trade. So these are some of the things that the nation is trying to call us to, to look to depend on what God has given you within your own self, and we call it do for self. And there was a time that the nation was producing things that was doing for self. They imported fish. They had imported the sardines. Uh, they had made clothes. They had other products, and they was able to sell it to our community at a cheaper cost because they controlled the transportation. They controlled the production of. They controlled from the ground to the consumer. So they was able to have a much lower price. And so these are some of the cartoons and satires of the message that they were sending. And this is one that they had that the door got kicked in. If we had more black people following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we would have less ripoff. And that was the truth, you know. And the more people that are Muslims, and more Muslims act like Muslims, uh, 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 there'd be a lot of less crime. Be a lot less crime. Same thing with a Christian. A good Christian be following the Christian values and dictates. They'll be good Christians. There'll be less crime. Same thing with the Jews. Be less extremism, aggressiveness, and arrogance. So these are some of the comments. I love what I am, therefore others will love me. You know, so now it's trying to give us to take a positive look at ourselves. Now, you know, it's telling us about some of the plan, contour, that was put out. Some of the secret ways how they look to destroy the nation of Islam. But you have, you know, there was still that image to do for self, and they was a model. You know, so these are some of the stories you see. The civil rights is handed out, and the nation was really more do for self was the model and was the inspiration. And we had supermarket, we had business, and they tried to show that model. You know, there was brothers. We had fish trucks across the country, bakery goods, the fish, the sardines, and it employed many people. So you can see within the art where there was very descriptive, uh, very creative, stimulating your ideas. You see the wheat, the hammer, the ruler, the unity of hands, and the do for self power. The concepts from this earth, uh, um, how to develop, how to invest. And there's Muslim communities that are around that have been able to have some land, but they may need other Muslim developers to help them to develop. So we need to come to start listening out and coming together as communities across the country. Then the Nation of Islam, we did comics. They use comics to tell us different stories. You know, this is one of the government, Uncle Sam, and as well as Elijah Muhammad and the military. Some of the drawings of Brother 0x, 2x. The reason why I was quiet so someone else could read some of the comics. You know, looking at some of these comics, you know, we need to do maybe Muslim comic books for our children to tell different stories, to stimulate them. You know, there's art is a tool to communicate to the mind, to the consciousness, and can help and to stimulate. And a lot of times it's important that children see stories of their own kind, that they can relate with. or and with circumstances. So there's here to some of the artists, the Muslim artists, these people that can do cartoons, can do drawings. I met many youth that had the ability to draw and do etching, and this is a means to communicate to people, about your life experience, your life story. This will be is another way that we beginning to offer alternative culture and to help our children, our children's children, and grandchildren, where that they can see themselves in Muslim South, and different stories and different circumstances. Because we are not in a Muslim majority country, many of our children don't have the ability to see other Muslims, someone like them, living in their neighborhood or in their society, or someone looking like them. So I think that's a very important aspect, and it would also can allow to bring humor to a bad situation. It can also help to provide coping skills to deal with some of the challenges that they may face, the bigotry, the selfishness, the fear that they may face with members within their schools because they're wearing hijab, or brothers wearing a kufi, or they got a different name. Um, there's many stories and examples that are going to be needed to help stimulate the children and the youth and even teenagers, that may be stuck out in society, uh, and don't have a clue or know how to get out. You know, sometimes cartoons can be a vehicle to help communicate a story, to help a person maybe take a look at themselves. And you see at the end of this, the guy was going to the gun shop of this story, and then at the end, and he buys a gun, then he runs across a Muslim brother selling Muhammad Speaks, and then he looks and follows the brother and joins the nation, and then throws away his gun because there was no need for guns. So I know there's many people that seen many of these uh, cartoons and stories that was all throughout, telling different messages, different stories. Um, and these are some that goes all the way up into the 70s. And you see Brother Ramsey now coming in. So they carry these art forms and they use drawings for over 20 years within the different newspapers and different publications that they did. This last one was the youth hitting another guy found behind what they saw on TV. And we know so many of our children found behind what they see on YouTube or TikTok or TV or these videos. And this is a 1966 one. You can see the sisters in hijab. Now we talk about the masthead. Um, Now, most recently in the last 6 months, I met quite a few different brothers from Gambia and Senegal, and they attached to the concept and appreciated and was stimulated and motivated and influenced by this masthead. You could grab some Muslim brothers from Africa, United States to Asia, and the unity of it, where they're looking to work together. One to tell our common history, our common story, and you see it in the history of Omar ibn Said, you see it in Ben Ali Muhammad, Ibrahim Abdul Rahman, and so you see the hand clasp of unity, and they carried it, and then it evolved to different colors and different stages, but they carried it. This is up to 1973. And this is one of the mastheads of one of the publications of Imam Murti Muhammad, and that was freedom, the move in our intellect to a greater vision, purpose, and responsibility. And that is freedom. And this is what the nation had represent and showed us physically that we had the potential to achieve that. If we can see it, we can believe it, we could work toward it, we could achieve it. Surely man gets what he strives for, what we're taught in the Quran, right? Then this is some of the art of the transitional years. The transitional years is the years, the early years, the passing of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, as they move from the Nation of Islamic concepts and ideas into following pure Islam. And some of the concept that they still was calling for was freedom, justice, and some of this earth. And this is what he showed. He showed a comparison. What Islam will do for us, unlocking our love for self, our own land, freedom, and different ideas. And one of the concepts today is what America's fighting for. It's freedom, right? That's one of the roar and the concept that we're fighting for is freedom. Uh, 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 the free to live in a productive and a democratic society. And hopefully, inshallah, we'll become a just society, a just society in this world and the world abroad. And these are some of the early drawings that came under W.D. Muhammad and his transitional years, showing us what the old Christianity concept and the belief that something other than God is God. And it showed us that all throughout the world, this concept has the Western world has penetrated and crucified us in our thinking, in our concepts. Is where we see the influence, and we see wars, we see lies, we see slavery, we see racism, bigotry, nativism is one of the code words that they use. We still see this sickness in society, but yet we see the budding of freedom, the budding of truth. We see that and we hope that they're not. Hopefully, we're coming out that cesspool. One of the candidates said what they're going to drain the swamp, and truthfully, they look like they have. The swamp came to them, and everybody, all the different people that are around them, we need to look at the signs that be in front of us. No, so not so much what somebody may say or talk about or do with the magicians, the different tricks that people may do to project things. Just know the truth and trust in Allah, trust in doing what is right, what is just. You know, this is a photograph of the fire and someone's thinking, about lies, having lies, weak ideas, wrong thinking. This is what lies will do, would torture you, would burn you up, and especially if you're trying to control something. We can't control nothing. And this one is he's talking about breaking away from weak leadership, as well as the chain of the grasp of spiritual ignorance. You know, the weak leadership was a chain on our feet, but the grasp, spiritual ignorance. So many of us are wrong believers. Some of us are emotional in our belief, not intellectually rational in our belief, and just and fair in our belief. And so this points to the divine. So you see in the transaction or the transition of the Nation of Islam, they move more into a spiritual communication and their drawings and their forms, especially under the leadership of Mahathir Muhammad. And here and then what they used and we're looking at, they also did a comparison. They use a comparison. On the photo on the left with the Bible, you see darkness and non-light. And then on where the Quran is, or what they call the second resurrection, the printed word. We know the Quran is the printed word of God. You see light, and that light is nothing but an inner light that awakens within the human soul. And this here is one of the times when they was making the transition. Here is what example the mass had, but they call it universal Islam. They're saying that we are going to bridge the gap, move towards the Sunnah. We're going to come one, which is called Universal Islam, was the transitional move. Then here's another picture about direction and strength. Um, a new birth begins, and that is through knowledge and experience. Light becomes, and that is a true and powerful message. You know, through our experiences in life, if we humble ourselves, humble our faith, and reflect on God, we'll see the light within that. Why we did this, or what happened. And when we see that in one of the stories with Musa, when Musa was on a journey with the wise men, some people claim that he met Kedar, and he put a hole in the boat, and he killed the child, and he built a wall. He did all these different circumstances that look physical. He experienced these things. But the wise man at the end, let me give you light, let me give you understanding what you experienced, what you had no patience about. So we can see within our own lives, if we look and reflect upon our own life, and the Quran encouraged that to look back, to reflect. And sometimes we'll see Allah's hand in it. You know, hell, Allah saved us from this wrong. Allah, was merciful that we're still living now. You know, there's many things. So that is one of the messages that we see within this picture. These pictures here, the understanding and the power of the one God, truth, reality, direction, form, and order. Uh, what you see within this is one is a pyramid. I remember Brother Kenny Gamble, Brother Lukman, had shared with me. He said that look, you focus on what you want as a pyramid and work towards that. Don't get distracted. Get focused with that. And the light of truth is like that. We have to focus. We have to center ourselves. We have to pray. We have to do good. We have to do things that will allow that power of light, the power of God, that truth to come within us. That He will reveal things to us through nature and through our experiences. And then some of the things that we will achieve with now the picture tip of God. These are all things within. And at the center of it all is the Quran. And I encourage everyone to read the Quran every day. Read the Word of God. Try to live it. Try to practice what you can. That will achieve happiness. It will help bring about cleanliness. You desire quietness and peace and order will begin. And then you'll be able to see some movement, some growth within your life. These are some of the messages that Muhammad started out to try to help his community to grow and help move that transition. Now things come to worship, come to growth, come by cultivation. To cultivate your soul, cultivate your spirit, cultivate your actions. Purify yourself. Do good. Do good deeds. Be kind. These are some of the things that he has encouraged. And then in here and to the right, you see that having the Quran at the center of your mind, to think, you eventually come to divine understanding, divine intelligence. But that takes time. That takes commitment. It takes work. It takes commitment and focus. There's excuse me. There's some other ones that they show about Mars. Man is within the throne. One of the things that he had within it is the scale of justice, the balance of justice, and by the light of the Quran, we're told, but to judge by the book of Allah, to judge by the Quran, by the light of the Quran, by his guidance. And here he's talking about Ezekiel will, looking at the villain being industrious, building farmland, universities, jewelry, mosques. And alhamdulillah, we're starting. We see across the country Muslims of African American descent and other Muslims, many Muslims building mosques all around the United States. You see that some communities are developing farmland, developing the ability to farm and to produce vegetables. You have some communities investing into property. So these things are coming. And here's another picture, just imagery, and it's all visual, but this is also within in your mind, that we have to quiet our mind. Where some of this music that we put in our mind won't allow us to think, won't allow us to reflect. So sometimes we have to cut off that music, cut off that phone, because these things can be distractions. If you look at all most of the prophets, when they came to some development, they went to a cave, or they went somewhere to seek peace, somewhere to seek some quiet time for the quiet reflection. And these are some of the things that we got to do if you want to connect yourself with God, connect yourself with the nature, or connect yourself with the truth. So these are some of the reflections that they was moving towards. More so it's the Quran, showing the community the Quran, talking about the truth, the unity of people. These are some of the focus of the image that they were projecting out at those early years to the community. These are some that this is one of the photos that I had loved in the Muslim journal where Muhammad speaks. In the early 80s, I met an artist that could draw using pencil. And so he redrew this for us. And this is a brother within prison. But yet, within that prison, he's learned a lot of God and rain of life to enter into his mind, into his spirit, that he's still free. No matter what his conditions is, he's still free within spirit, within mind. And these are some of the things that we need to come to learn to understand, that mind is more powerful than our physical. And mind is nothing but a reflection of our house, of our spiritual. This is another one I had him draw. These are, if I'm not mistaken, right, correct, 9 men. Nothing but forms, okay? So it's sticking with the Islamic art of no eyes. So it's no form, but yet the ninth person, or the first person to the left, it is total darkness. And then as they make progress, they move into the light. That's within our own lives. As we move closer to God, the more we learn, the more we apply, the more we do, the more we rid ourselves from the dark past and from our dark actions, from our dark deeds. And then when we eventually come to the point that we'll be able to make sajda in pure light, in pure consciousness, pure words, and now with time, as you see that person, the third person or the second person before the person makes sajda, you see a little darkness on their feet and their ankles. Many of us, some of us still got those ghosts. Those are some of those whispers, the waswas, that whispers to us of our past to haunt us, to keep us away from following that light. And we need to learn how to master that whisper in order that we can surrender and make perfect to that light. And in closing, one of the things, the last few things or the last time I think I saw Imam Muhammad at one of his first Sunday's event, he presented his artwork. He presented three artworks, and I apologize that I don't have the altitude with me to put on the screen. But this is one of his artworks that he did. He left the community. He did three of them. And so, what the picture and understanding I get out of that, he was encouraging us to still maintain and reflect upon art, to use your creativity, use whatever Allah has given you as a creative person. And so, that is it of the art of the Nation of Islam. So, I'd be more than glad to answer any questions. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than glad. If you want to have any comments. Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I don't have any questions, but I'm just happy that I was able to participate in the majority of these presentations. And I mean, I did send out information and was looking for more participation. But I guess, sometimes we just have to continue to push on, and people will begin to recognize the importance of it. And maybe when you do the replays of it, you'll get bigger participation.
Yes, matter of fact, inshallah, Sister Alexander, we will keep you informed, because that's the goal. One of the things was to do it, at an early time that's convenient, and then to do it, and so it's not convenient for everyone, and then to do the replays, and then to measure the response from the replays. So,
well, alhamdulillah, you speak just like you're speaking to a big audience, so it'll be well received whenever you do the replay, and then inshallah, people will be able to get that benefit from it. I mean, I know I have.
Shukran.
Yeah. I wish I had those other pictures to show you that Imam did. I remember that picture as soon as it came up on the screen. I was like, yeah, that's the Imam's picture.
Yeah. There's two of them. There's the blue one too, but they're in storage. This is the only one that wasn't in storage. So that's it. He was telling us, he was encouraging us to do art.
Yeah. And he did poetry too. So inshallah.
Inshallah.
So, but it'll inshallah, it'll surface and it'll come about. And that was nice seeing that, and then his birthday just being yesterday too.
That's
so,
right.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I hope our audience heard that. MashaAllah. That's right. October. Islamic Head. Alhamdulillah. All right, that's it. Thank you, sis. Thank you, everyone. May Allah reward us, increase us in faith, increase our understanding, increase our desire, increase to seek Him and to seek our goodness. Assalamu alaikum. And Islamic heritage. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.